Hello dear students, LFHP Kankavli College Kankavli, Assistant Teacher Mahaleshwar MD here. Today we are going to deal with 1.1 brainstorming and its part 3. Today we are going for activity A5. Previously we have completed word usage. Now we are joining to A5. In that the very first activity, prepare a speech on science and superstitions. So I am not going to repeat my answer here. Why? Because in the video where we discuss title and icebreakers, we clearly mention or discuss the same sort of activity where in very detail I have given you what kind of superstitions or wrong beliefs are there in Indian society or at world level, what kind of superstitions could be seen, can be found out. That detailing I have given, and also I mentioned the note that what could be the differentiation, how we can cancel them, vanish them from the society by the usage of science. So here you have to give the speech on science and superstitions. At 11th standard we have studied how to write speech writing. At the opening you have to write honorable, and that platform, that dais, the people who are present were, as per that you have to mention the opening. Then middle part of that will be the actual write-up of yours. Middle does not mean you have to create only one para. So many paragraphs will be there, but that is the difference between opening and middle part of that speech. So opening will be, you have to give the salutation like respect honorable dais, then respected teachers, and this formatting. And at the middle you have to go for the actual write up or the thought content of yours. And in the next third ending will be what conclusionary part. You have to end up with the conclusionary part of it. That's called science and superstitions. So in that way you have to elaborate your answer. I'm sure that you are very able to solve this activity. So we are joining to the important one. Read the following proverbs, share your views and expand the ideas. See students, last year we have seen expansion of the ideas. That topic in thorough level we have discussed that. So here I am not going to explain what is meant by expand the ideas, because already at 11th standard we have thoroughly studied the idea expansion of ideas. Also I have given you plenty of examples related that. But as it is the opening chapter of the next new year 12th standard, I will definitely help you out to find out the meanings of I will definitely help you to find out the meanings of these proverbs. So but the expansion of idea that you have to do, and I will just provide you the clues related each and every proverbs. Is that clear students? So the very first proverb is actions speak louder than words. I repeat, actions speak louder than words. Let your words teach and your actions speak. What a remarkable message it is. So actions speak louder than words. So at word level we can talk many things, but if they would come towards reality, then only that we can call it trustworthy. So in what manner I am using my words in practical life, that's important, because many times we are saying that I will do this and that, but what is my action, that's important. So see that who has used that sentence? Abraham Lincoln. Sources say that the expression can be found in use as far back as the early 1600s. During that period, the phrase was first used in the form we use today in United States, written by Abraham Lincoln in 1856. So why that we would collect that? It's a phrase. What's that? Elaborating. If you say that actions speak louder than words, you mean that people's actions show their real attitudes rather than what they say. Suppose, what that means? Suppose I am telling that be punctual, come on time, and I myself would not be that, then definitely my action is contradictory or opposite to my own spoken words. So obviously you would say that madam's actions speak louder than words but negatively. This is negative example. At word level I am very impressive towards you, but my actions are denying that. Is it? So all the time what is influence people? No doubt words, but more than words, who can influence us? Actual actions. We are observing the actions of the person, not the words. At the very first we are observing the words of that person, but later on while checking whether that person is apt or not or real or not, we have to check his or her actions, and hence actions speak louder than words. So here you got the answer that through actions we are collecting real attitudes rather than what they say. They means people. This expression is sometimes used to advise a person to do something positive. Why we are using this expression? Sometimes we are using this for advising the person to do something. So if we want positive impact on the next person, we are using this. Here again you would get the meaning. What that? What you do carries more weight than what you say. Just I mentioned in previous slide, the same one is here. What you do, your real action carries more weightage than what you merely say. Doing is better than just speaking. All the time that is universal law. Instead speaking what we have to believe in, I must do this. Suppose I will say that, yes, I am the expert in a PowerPoint presentation and all. But when time asks me that yes, you have to create one PPT, then suppose I am denying that, my actions are contradictory to my words. So obviously you are observing, or each and every person should be louder in his action. And if your action is louder, you should not do much more efforts. You should not talk through the word. Your action itself will talk. Your actions are more significant than your words. What is much more significant are actions. Better to do something rather than just talk. So try to understand all these things. When you will understand actual meaning, the examples, phrase, origin, by that way only you can elaborate this. So you should write what here. What is exactly the meaning of the proverb? Actions speak louder than words. What message do you get from this line? That you have to write in short. Okay? And to help you out, means to find out the meaning, what kind of elaboration you have to do, I am offering you all these clues. So we can definitely say that actions speak louder than words. I hope that you got good understanding of this particular proverb. Now we are going to join the next proverb. The face is the index of the mind. The face is the index of the mind. Obviously, yes or no? Face is, what would be the meaning of this line? Face is the index of mind that reveals. Reveals means expose, show, reveals the full of expression, connect with heart to soul. Obviously, full of expression, connect with heart to soul. What that means? Suppose I am very sad, and suppose I am very expressive. So I definitely, my face will say that the same expression. Suppose I am very much excited at my heart, my face is on my face, that emotion will be very visible. So obviously, face is the index of mind. And one more addition you can find: eyes are windows of soul. So what is that? Face is the index of mind, but eyes are windows of soul. Means through this window we can directly enter in the heart of the next person. If you wanted to judge the reality, if the person is talking truth, or he or she is the liar, you must check out the eyes of that person. So that is additional part. For now, we have to go for only one proverb. Face is index of mind. Go for it now. Face is the index of mind. The mind is always engaged in one or other thought process. See, the mind is always engaged in one or other thought process. All the time in our mind, series of thoughts are coming on. One thought came, another thought will come, and this is going on and going on, never stopping. Even suppose you are sitting in at your chair, and you are trying to have such a condition that no thought should be there. It is very difficult to have, but after meditation you can capture such a kind of state, but that deals with the meditation. Otherwise, mind is what? All the time engaged with so many thoughts. They may be of what kind? Happiness, sadness, joy, sorrow, anger, fear, or depression, etc. All these thoughts are within us, but as our body is an indicator of our moods and feelings, they are reflected in our body language. Is it? So, at our heart we are getting such a kind of emotion. But who is the indicator of that? Who is the medium to show that or reflect that? Our body. And hence, all these mood swings, these feelings are having reflection in our body language. Have you seen a sad person's body language? His total body is bent over, and he looking down. He can't look towards you. Lack of the confidence. You can feel that this person is completely sad one. Especially at where you could find that face, and hence it is rightly said, face is index of mind. Here you would get the same expansion. I'm not going to read that totally because that would be wastage of time. Better you can have the pause, because I'm also having this time pause. See, I didn't go quickly for it. I stayed here, but I purposely, because by that way, suppose you wanted to have that and read that, you can pause this video, and you can easily read. Okay, I will just have the snaps of it. I'm not going to read each and every line. Okay, shall I? There is an English proverb that says the face is the index of mind. If one is angry, his anger is immediately expressed in his face. Similarly, other mental states are reflected by the actions of the gross body, means total body. In other words, the activities of the gross body are reactions of the mental condition. See, that's important. That our mind is, many times you have might heard this statement, that whatever the diseases of our body are totally connected with our mind state. All the time, suppose you are sad, no, your body also having paining and aching. So try to feel happy, then your body also be active. So everything that is mentioned here. So when the mind is joined with a particular sense, it immediately becomes manifest in a certain way. For instance, next part of this here we will get in a certain way. For instance, example is given here. See that because of the cropping I cannot cut down this one, but it is having continuation here. Okay, last line becomes manifest in a certain way. For instance, that is the continuation. So to have clarity, I have cropped this image. Actually that was vertical, but I made that horizontal. That's why the last line is in repetition. So I think you can understand that. So coming back to the thought, when the mind is joined with a particular sense, it immediately becomes manifest in a certain way. For instance, when there is anger in the mind, the tongue vibrates so many maledictions. Means we are not able to control our words. And that is because of what? Anger. To say that mind was angry, and hence was the indicator of that tongue. Similarly, when the mind's anger is expressed through the hand, there is fighting, and when it is expressed through the leg, there is kicking. Is it? There are so many ways in which the subtle activity, subtle means minute activity, which even we can't capture like that. Subtle activities of the mind are expressed through the various senses. So mind is the basic thing, is it? So minds, whatever the mapping of mind can be visible where? On our face. So face is the direct indicator of what is going on of our in our mind. No doubt there are some skillful persons who can easily can hide their real emotions, but that is too much difficult. All the time we can't do that. Our face is, yes, rightly the index of our mind. I think you got the understanding of the second proverb, that face is the index of our mind. Now see, third one we are going with, speech is silver and silence is golden. Speech is silver and silence is golden. So speech is silver and silence is golden. What that means? Obviously, speech using a language, that's important one, but silence is golden one. How we can elaborate that? Before that we have to see the origin, when we have seen that. The full idiom is speech is silver but silence is golden, meaning that words are important, but sometimes it is better to say nothing. The whole phrase is seldom used, and the shortened version is now more well known. Shortened version means we are now in a days just only use silence is golden. We are cancel. It is not done purposely, but silence is golden. That phrase is also enough to indicate the meaning of that. So now in a days we are using shortened form of it. In 1831, the poet Thomas Carlyle translated it from German. So actually it was from German language, but that was in English. In this form we collected from this poet Thomas Carlyle in 1831 in his novel Sartor Resartus. In the novel it reads as this: So these words are for this. This is the poet Thomas Carlyle, who had gifted us with this very apt line: speech is silver, silence is golden. So here say that again, but in detailing you will get. The origin of this proverb has been obscure by time, but there are versions dating back to ancient Egypt. So that could be seen. In 1831, the poet Thomas Carlyle translated it into English. The meaning of silence is golden, speech is silver means that saying nothing is preferable to speaking. So instead of speaking all the time, we should keep mum, and silence is important. So why silence is important, or it is called golden thing? Check. Not saying anything is often better than speaking too much or saying something inappropriate. That's clear meaning of this idiom or proverb. Not saying is often better than what? Speaking too much, because that is not that much effective. And sometimes, many times we are preferring talking or speaking, and in the flow we are using some inappropriate ways or versions of the words, and that is definitely harmful for our communication. So better we have to use silence. Another meaning you would get here: active and purposeful silence. See that, huh? Silence does not mean some injustice is going on and still we have to keep mum or having silence. At that moment, silence wouldn't be. Here, silence should be what kind? Active and purposeful. Through your silence should also mention the words. That is called activeness. Means actually you are silent over there, but your total body language, your face is that much determined, which is having purpose behind it, and next person should understand that yes, you are keeping mum, but there is specific purpose behind. So such a kind of active and purposeful silence isn't about being disengaged or shutting down. Just I mentioned that. That does not mean just only shutting down, keeping mum. It's about, yes, listening. Listening is important. We have solved this activity in the same astrologer's day topic, that who has listening power. Our astrologer had a great test of the listening power, and what was the usage of that, of listening. That also we have discussed in previous brainstorming first video. We have completed that. So yes, what is important? Active listening is important. It's allowing others in the space to respond and allowing them to talk their way through and reason out their response before jumping to a conclusion. Is it? So all the time, suppose you are going to talk and talk, how could you collect the next person's response? If you can't get that response, you can't go for the specific conclusion, or whatever the conclusion you can gather, that could be hectic one, in hurried worried way you have collected, so obviously it couldn't be apt one. So basically what's meant by silence, that should be how active and purposeful, and it indicates listening, not only mere shutting down. Silence is good for overall physical health and well-being. Silence is not only helpful for our mind state but also for what? Our physical health and well-being. How that is? Physiological standpoint of view is mentioned over here. Na? Besides giving our ears a break, silence has been shown to offer significant health advantages. See, besides what that means? Besides means no doubt we are getting first foremost advantage of having silence, that our ears are offering break. But basically what kind of advantage we are getting? Health advantage. That boost means giving too much energy to our overall well-being. From a physiological standpoint of view or standpoint, silence helps in what? It can lower our blood pressure. Blood pressure will be all the time in maintain level or at maintain level, which can help prevent heart attack. So that is clear cut physiological standpoint of view. So at dwell level we can collect the advantage from silence. So again I am repeating the meaning, some examples. It is often better to say nothing at all. Meaning, another meaning, keeping your mouth shut is great virtue. Virtue means character. I mentioned that not all the time. That does not mean injustice is going on and you have to keep mum. Already we have seen how should be that shutting mum. Shutting our mouth or keeping mum active and purposeful. Silence should be purposeful and active. Then only we can call it greatest virtue. Otherwise, that will be coward nature of us. Third meaning, peace and quiet is to be enjoyed. That's the meaning of silence is golden. Examples of that kind, in where you can collect that. First two, do not tell your mom that I broke her vessel. Remember, silence is golden. So hiding the truth this time, but how can we call it? Is it? He is saying that, but for his, now he is saying silence is golden, but for the, yes, for the advantage of himself. Is it? Say, do not tell, expose this truth lie. 2. This will stay between us, right? Silence is golden. Means whatever I discuss with you, that should be between us. You should not open up that to anyone else. Why? Because silence is golden. So yes, it is rightly said, speech is silver, silence is golden. To elaborate this, we are going for some more examples. I quickly go for that. Third one I cancel. It is not printing mistake. 1, 2, 3. Third one is cancel because its meaning context was different. That's why I cancel it and I went for fourth. Okay, so I'm now going for the fourth one. Are you still talking? It feels like it has been hours. Silence is golden. So maybe this teacher or your mother wanted to say something, that are you still talking? It feels like it has been hours, or so many hours passed away and you're still talking. So remember that what? Silence is golden. Fifth example is there. How did you manage to keep quiet when he asked you about his horrible play? I didn't say anything. Why? Because my mom taught me that silence is golden. No doubt he is behaving harshly with me, but I am not going to be of his level. Definitely my mom taught me silence is golden. Sixth one. I love it when my kids are at school. Silence is golden. That is different sort of silence, that the mom is saying that my kids they are creating that much noise that now they are at school. That's very good, and silence is golden. Then seventh one. We are going camping in the woods. this weekend. It's going for camping in woods, and woods are basically the habitat of natural things, and no human entrance is there. There will be no one around for miles, and because of that, what they can collect over there? Silence, and that's why that person is saying silence is golden. So these are some of the examples where you could say that speech is silver, no doubt, but silence is golden. I'm sure that all this discussion can help you to elaborate the idea speech is silver, silence is golden. Now we have to go for the next. Argument is the worst kind of communication. Argument is the worst kind of communication. See that argument is the worst kind of communication. How that is, that we have to see. First of all, try to understand what's my argument. Here there is the fight between. It's not physical fight, but at word level it is, means at thought level. This is argument. One person is saying yes to that thought, opposite to that next person is denying to accept it. So whenever there are any such a clashes, we can call it argument. In this figure also or image also, you could say that one man is there, he wanted to say something, opposite to that lady wanted to say something, and literally there is the quarrel between. You can get this arrow. So by that way there is the argument. There is an argument. So when just now you observe these two images, what kind of impression you collect? Happy, good, or worst? Yeah, I can listen your word, that is called worst. You are getting the influence of these two images, that is worst. You can't enjoy that. Is it? Argument is the worst kind of communication. Why it is called? In an argument, people cannot freely discuss their ideas with others. In argument, we are not that much open up to talk on certain issue or matter or point at free level. So there will be there won't be free discussion on that idea. They are holding back all the time. Why? Because they are all the time in the stress, anxiety, and in anger. And see that whenever we are under the pressure or fear, that anxiety, or in angry state, we can't concentrate on that particular thing. And that's why when we can't concentrate on anything, can we get the particular freeness of the thought? And no freedom at all, that means we can't get probable thought. Even suppose the next person's point of view is correct, we are not going to accept it. Why? Because for us, my point of view is correct. We are in the state of stress, anxiety we are carrying, the load of anger we are carrying. So definitely we are saying that my point of view is correct. So can we call it a good communication, healthy communication? It's certainly not. So obviously argument is the worst kind of communication. Why a communication needs to be very polite comes so that new ideas will burst out in the mind. Why? What is the basic need? Communication should be how healthy one. Why? If it is not healthy or polite, we can't get the new ideas. Is it? See that one. You try this particular thing with you. Or you can check your own mind. Whenever you are in a stable state or condition of your mind, I'm not calling it excited. Whenever we are excited, that moment also we can't do the things properly due to the excitement. So whenever we are stable, there is no anger, no stress, no anxiety. We are balanced one. You can find that so many ideas coming at your heart, but under the pressure you can't get that. I think suppose that same thing happened with you at exam time. because of the pressure you know the answer, but because of the pressure somehow you have forgotten that answer. Why? Because there is the feeling stress, fear, can I write, can I remember, like that. So in the same way, if argument is there, we are in such a different state of mind, so we can't create or generate new ideas, and hence it is called worst kind of communication. Do you understand, students, what is meant by argument is the worst kind of communication? You have to expand this idea. As that was simple, we are leading towards the next topic. Attitudes are the real figure of speech. I repeat, attitudes are the real figures of speech. So here you have seen that this is a metaphorical statement. Attitudes are indirectly compared with the real means figures of speech. So at here, to elaborate this, you must know what is meant by attitudes. And you must know what is meant by attitudes, and you must know the meaning of figures of speech. Attitudes, what that mean, point of view of yours, in what way you are thinking. And figures of speech, you know, to heighten that particular poetic or prosaic language or line, we have to use figures of speech. Is it? Generally we can talk or speak in any yes, words will be the same, but how we are using that, or in which way we are presenting that, on that the influence matter is best. Is it? So here you must know attitudes and figures of speech. Then only you can collaborate them. How attitudes are the real figures of speech. Then only you can recognize this connectivity. Who has given this thought? Edwin H. Friedman. Attitudes are the real figures of speech. This thought is given by Edwin H. Friedman. First of all, I will explain what is meant by attitudes, then we are going to see the discussion on figures of speech, and then after that we will collaborate both the things. Okay? So here you would get that spontaneous attitude change. So message is there, and here you are getting happy state of yours, attitude change. Thoughtful attitude change. Message is given, now passing towards you, and this is what? Cognitive elaboration. You started to think on it. It does not mean sad, you started to think on it, and then attitude changes. See, here you would get three different sorts of attitudes. And see, why I am explaining all these things, I am showing all these things, because you are not going to write this, no doubt. How attitudes are, means what is meant by attitude, you are not going to write directly, or the total expansion of idea is not based on this. But if you are not able to understand what is meant by attitude, how can you connect that with the figure of speech? That's why I am telling you. Already I mentioned the note that attitude, what that mean, in what manner you are thinking. This is the basic personality trait of a man, of a person. How much you are having expensive ornaments and the clothing, that's not important. What is your attitude? That makes the difference. That will influence you on others. And that's why the statement is, I am repeating that, attitudes are the real figure of speech. Means attitude is the first ornament which is heightening your status to influence the people. As like figure of speech, this is one element in the language which is heightening the status of the words and making that line influential. Are you getting? So see, why me? One person is having this attitude. Why all the time me? Like another person says that why not me? Why didn't you ask me like me about that? I wanted to do that. And one more, me, why not? Means this third person, where do you get that best of the best attitude? Here, third. This person, why me? Means you have asked me that I have to complete the responsibility. Why didn't you ask someone else? This person says that why not me? Why you should ask me first about. But the third person is very calm, sound. He said that me, why not? Means if you are asking me, definitely I am able to be I am able to show you my availability. I will definitely complete. So this is called the attitude. Three different attitudes here you can collect. What is the attitude or tone, and how can we get the reflection of it? Which are the indications that this person's attitude is like this, either negative, positive, pessimistic, rude, awkward, introvert, extrovert? How can we get that attitude? By all these things. These are the ways to identify how is the attitude of that person. Have you read this? That's why I taken the pause. Though I haven't given you the instruction. Through what things we can understand about the attitude of the next person, about that we were talking. So attitude, tone. See that? His or her feelings about the subject, means any topic he or she is writing about. So by the write up of that person we can understand what would be the attitude of that particular person. Or whenever he is or she is using the write up method for exposure of the feelings, then what kind of words he or she has selected, that's called word choice. Sentence structure, how would be or how is the sentence structure? Means usage of simple sentences, straightforward sentences, or using complex or compound sort of, or complex compound sentences are used, or so many interrogations are there, or ironic thing, and figurative language, in that you could get the elements of figure of speech, like simile, means any heightening expression, irony is used, or all the time happy go lucky, such a sort of write up is there. Or sometimes at outer state it is looking very happy go lucky, but at inner way that may be ironic. So irony we have already completed. So is it just only the mere play of the word, that is called fun? So all these things are there to highlight or to grasp that how what is that person's attitude is. So here you would get the comparison between attitude and write up. So in write up what is important? Figures of speech. Get it? So through, suppose any person had got writing habit, so through that writing habit of him or her we can collect the attitude. And how we can get that sign he is or she is positive or pessimistic or negative? So that is word choice, which words are being selected by them, or what kind of sentence structure used by them, or what kind of figurative language is used. That by that way you can collect attitude. Details, reasons and evidences. So by that way also we can collect that what kind of attitude is there. Some people are having habit that each and every time they are giving detailing. So by that way you are getting that analytical approach, as like reasons they are providing. So reasons are also they are providing, and sometimes evidences also. So by that way you can get that what is the attitude of that person. Now we are going again the clarification now. See, up to now we have seen what is meant by attitudes, is it? And now we are going for the linkage. Attitudes are the real figures of speech. Why it is called? So see again, realize that there are not hopeless situations. Situations are not hopeless. There are only people who take hopeless attitudes. So see that situations will be hopeless, we can't say. Situation is there. In each and everybody's life, the same situation could be faced, means sad or happy. How we are accepting that, that's important. And the reception of the same situation by A and B or different persons is dependent on only one thing, that is called attitudes. So for explanation of what is meant by attitude, I am giving you all these things. Yeah? Here you are getting again the combo, the collaboration, why it is like. Attitude is the real figure of speech. Edwin Friedman said that communication does not depend on syntax. Do remember these words, because in next slide I am going to explain what is meant by syntax and all. Definitely you would get the meaning, but do remember. According to Edward Friedman, what communication does not depend only on syntax, eloquence, rhetoric, or articulation, but on the emotional context in which the message is being heard. So what is meant by how we are creating the sentences, how we are elaborating that, how much we are making the sweet and high literary words, that is not important. What is important, the emotional context, in what manner I received that message at my heart, that's important. And who is able to what factor makes a person to receive the thing in that way? Attitude. For example, suppose I will show you one picture, then the same picture, the positive person will say positivity from that picture, and the negative person, though how much that picture would be positive enough, he or she will receive negative from that. So that reception is dependent on which thing? Attitudes. And hence he is rightly saying attitudes are real figures of speech. So now we are going to see what is meant by syntax, and then we can see what is meant by figures of speech. Then you can having combination of attitude is the real figure of speech. See, figure of speech, what that means. A word or phrase used in a non-literal sense for rhetorical or vivid effect. So for example, in very strict manner I can say something, but suppose I wanted to heighten the intensity of that emotion, I am using some figurative language, that is called figures of speech, and that is element, simile, metaphor, personification, you know everything. So such a kind of techniques are used to heighten the intensity and to influence the reader. Similarly, attitudes are also doing the same duty to heighten the intensity of a person. Syntax, what is meant by that? The arrangement of words and phrases to create well-formed sentences in a language, that's called syntax. In short we can call it structures, sentence structure. Syntax examples, what's meant by that exactly? So what is meant by syntax? Along with diction means vocabulary. Syntax is fundamental, means basic part of written language. Syntax states the rules for using words, phrases, clauses and punctuation. So it is merely, you can say that it is strictly grammar related part, means having techniques or method, rules, specifically to form sentences. By this way you can clearly understand what's meant by syntax. Correct syntax examples include word choice. Matching number means we have to correctly select the word first. Matching number and tense, correct tense we have to use. And placing words and phrases in the right order. Right order is called what? In word usage we have discussed this. The sentence structure in English is called S plus V plus O C A, or sometimes if it is passive voice, O will be at the starting, and by whom that was done, that was going at the latter, means at the end. And one more structure we have seen, that is one verb came first. So we have to select the position or place for that wording. So this everything is called syntax. Okay. See, here you are getting further explanation of figures of speech. Is a word or phrase that possesses or owns a separate meaning from its literal definition. It can be metaphor or simile. In metaphor, simile, indirect comparison or direct comparison, designed to make a comparison. It can be the repetition of alliteration. Alliteration sounds, consonantal sounds are having repetition, or the exaggeration in case of hyperbole to provide a dramatic effect. So in short, what is meant by figure of speech? These are the techniques or elements which are useful to heighten the intensity of that particular sentence. Similarly, attitudes, these are the trait or the element, or attitude is the element which is showing that what kind of the person is. By that way, that person can influence the people. Okay. In this particular message, you would get that figure of speech. How? See, what the statement? Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. So, see the arrangement of the words, and the intensity is heightened by the usage of figure of speech. So, by that way you can understand this sentence can be written in very simple, straightforward manner, or in syntax, simple, straightforward. Instead, the particular person had chosen which formatting? Figure of speech, so that it could influence the people in the best way. Is it? Similarly, attitudes are helping that person to become too much expressive towards the next person, whether in positive attitude or in negative. So here we can use this particular slide as conclusionary slide for it. I read that for you. Attitude includes, it's very important, attitude includes voice modulations, changes in voice quality, ups and downs, posture, your body language, in what manner you are presenting yourself, the physical appearance, is it? Whether what kind of things you want, in what manner you are on your hair, that we have to see. How are you talking, how are you standing, sitting, bending the legs, what is going on your face, your fingers movement, legs movement, everything. So that included in attitude. Speech not only includes words, but the way you deliver it to the audience. So it is not only words, but it is what? In what manner you are delivering that. So who is helping you to deliver that rightly? Attitudes. That if the audience should be interested in your words. So if you wanted to influence the audience, you must use some what? Next line is there. Attracting the audience requires a positive and cheerful attitudes. Only by this method you can make the people attracted towards you. This is the same job of figure of speech in language. Figure of speech, this element making the readers come towards that prosaic or poetic language. Similarly, attitudes are also attracting the next person towards that particular man or person. So, thus, attitudes are real figure of speech. I am sure that in detail I have given you the discussion on that previous proverb. Now we are going for this next one. This proverb is, the wise man has long ears and a short tongue. The wise man has long ears and a short tongue. In simple way we can call it, a wise man has long ears and a short tongue means that a person who is intelligent and has more knowledge listens to people more and speaks less. That's the reason why it is said that silent people have the loudest minds. Aptly said it is. Wise man means the person who is very wise, intelligent, clever. He prefers what? He wanted to listen so many things so that he could collect good enough knowledge at his point of view. We have seen this in astrologer's case also. He was keeping mum to collect the stuff from the clients. Similarly, the intelligent one, they are the good listeners, they are keeping their ears long and shortening their tongue. I wanted to give you one family example. The Lord Ganesha is coming in the next few days. So one thing is asked or discussed about Lord Ganesha, that his ears are long. Is it why? He wanted to fetch the knowledge. Is it? He wanted to fetch the knowledge, and that's why his ears are long. Okay, so it's very straightforward proverb. Can get that the wise man has long ears and a short tongue, as he or she wanted to collect much more knowledge. Now we have to go for next activity, A6. 1. Bill Norton has written. Bill Norton is famous writer. He has written a collection of wonderful stories which you can read in his book, The Goalkeeper's Revenge and Other Stories. Read all the stories and discuss their theme or themes with your partner. So, what is that book? The Goalkeeper's Revenge and Other Stories. So, definitely on internet you can get the copy. It's like this. Bill Norton's The Goalkeeper's Revenge and Other Stories. Some of the editions are having this pic on the front or cover page, and some editions are having this sort of cover page. Okay, and previously one more I mentioned or I have shown you in the previous slide, but these are two more. He is Bill Norton. And the info about him, the real name and all. See, William John Francis Norton or Bill Norton. So the real name of this writer is William John Francis, and pen name is Bill Norton. Was an Irish-born British playwright. Playwright means novelist. Was an Irish-born British playwright and author, best known for his play. Playwright means what? Dramatist. Sorry, I have to correct myself. Playwright, what that means? Dramatist, and he is well known for his play Alfie. Okay, if you wanted to know about Alfie, the play, you have to join Wikipedia. What is about this goalkeeper's revenge and all? You see, the goalkeeper's revenge is comprised means collection. Comprise means it is a kind of collection of stories of a Lancashire childhood, of football on the streets, fishing, fighting, and school, of growing up and looking for work, and of characters such as Pete Nolan, the champion trolley rider, Sean Dalt, the goalkeeper, and Maggie Gregory, the amazing reader. So, in short, here you collect all the info about this book. So, now we are going for the next activity, that is related R.K. Narayan's humorous collections, comical collections of short stories and novels. Here are some titles you can read. So definitely you can get all these things, and if you on YouTube also some of the things you can get. So it is not needed to read all the time, but you can actually see the episodes, because some are from the famous TV serial which is based on the famous book of R.K. Narayan's Malgudi Days. So the first one, Under the Banyan Tree, The Doctor's Word, that's second. Third one, Lovely Road, A Horse and Two Goats, that is fourth. And fifth one, Getman's Gift. This is the first one, Under the Banyan Tree and Other Stories. What's in that? Under the Banyan Tree and Other Stories is a collection of short stories by R.K. Narayan, set in and around the fictitious, it is not real. Fictitious means what? It was just only created in the book, it is not actually over there. This is the fictitious town of Malgudi in South India. The stories range from the humorous to the serious, and all are filled with Narayan's acute observation. Acute means minute, critical, that is there. So he observed that human nature acutely, and then he had written all the stories. So definitely you would enjoy any short story you would select, and you will get the, and definitely you wanted to learn or read some few more. So you have to read this. I have a pause here. You can read it again. I'm sure that you have read this. This is the second one, Doctor's Word. So this is the pic from the serial, and you would get that in which episode you are getting. You would get this episode 44 of that serial. In this simple tale, R.K. Narayan balanced the virtues of honesty against dishonesty, and concludes dishonesty works when the intentions are good. So what's meant by this? Honesty, dishonesty, intentions are good, though dishonesty and all. You have to read that story or watch that serial's episode related Doctor's Word. This is the third one, Lovely Road. And you are getting what kind of description, what the thought in that. So I will read. In Lovely Road by R.K. Narayan, we have the theme of independence, corruption, power, loyalty, and identity. Taken from his Malgudi Days collection, the story is narrated in the first person by the talkative man, means the person who is talking too much. And after reading the story, the reader realizes that Narayan may be exploring or searching the theme of independence and the difficulties that can come with independence. See what a great minute observation he made over there. The municipality of Malgudi, though they have won their freedom from the British, incur difficulties when trying to stamp their own seal on Malgudi. Not only do some of the streets have the same names, which is impractical, but the honesty of some of the council members and the chairman is in question. This may be important as Narayan may be suggesting that when a country gets its independence from another country, things may not necessarily run smoothly or appropriately. So he is dealing with the same basic thought of it in this particular lovely road. The next one is a horse and two goats. This is the cover page of the same book. A Horse and Two Goats and Other Stories is a collection of short stories by R.K. Narayan, published in 1970 by the Bodley Head. The book is illustrated by R.K. Lakshman, Narayan's brother, and includes 5 stories. It was originally published in 1970, that is mentioned language, original language that was written in English, pages also mentioned. Next one is the Getman's Gift. Again you could see that episode from Malgudi Days serial, the Getman's Gift, and it is obviously written by R.K. Narayan. I'm sure that you have got good understanding of each and every activity. And now we have to go for the last activity, A7. Surf the internet and find out the career opportunities in astronomy. So here I am not giving a ready-made answer to you. You are that much able to find out the career opportunities in which field or sector? Astronomy. And I do want the answer of this activity from you. You have to search different career opportunities in astronomy field, and by that way you will get in the new knowledge about not only one or two fields are important, but astronomy can also give you so many career opportunities. And definitely you have to solve this. You have to search and solve this activity by your own. So by that way, successfully today we have completed brainstorming activity of 1.1 and Astrologer's Day. Now this is the time to say goodbye to you. We are coming soon with new lesson and having the same cooperation. So students, I must take your leave with the note, stay home, stay safe. Bye students.